What makes Firebase so special? Why do so many people use it? Why do I recommend it so hard on my channel? Well, if you take a look at the database, Firestore, this is where the main difference is between Firebase and your traditional tech stack. So your classic or your traditional tech stack usually has a user interface which communicates with what is called a route handler. So an example might be, let's say you want to make a new user, then your user interface will click the button submitting the form to create the new user. That passes the information to the route handler, and then the route handler actually writes that information to a database, such as a MySQL database or something like that. So what that means is for every piece of functionality your app has which needs to write or read something from the database, you need to write a route handler and write some SQL code or something like that in order to actually read from the database or write to it. And so what ends up happening is you have this huge router full of, it's basically just the same code over and over no matter how many applications you write, it's always the same. All right, create user, pass in the data to the database. Okay, done. Okay, now we need to get the user. Let's write a handler for that. So every time you need to communicate with the backend, you always need to write a route handler. And now let's look at how this is different with Firebase. So Firebase has a flagship database called Firestore. And Firestore is essentially a generic route handler. Gone are the days where you have to write your own route handlers and write these big long node files of just the same code over and over. Firestore is the ultimate generic route handler and database rolled into one. Yes, they still have those components under the hood, but we pretty much use the service as if it was all just one piece. So let's say we were making a to-do list app and we wanted to add something to our to-do list. Instead of writing a route handler for adding something to the to-do list, all we have to do is say, okay, Firebase, write to the /items collection and add this new item for our to-do list in there. And that's it. The front end makes a single call to the Firestore database and automatically Firestore handles that route. The user interface only has to make a single call to Firestore in order to write something to the database. So that is the key value proposition of Firebase in my mind. Firestore rolls up the route handler and the database all into one, and it is a nicely organized NoSQL database. But at this point you might be wondering, well, what's the difference then between Firestore, which is a NoSQL database, and another NoSQL database such as MongoDB? You remember the MongoDB hype train back probably like 5 or 10 years ago? Where everyone was like, oh, you got to do MongoDB. That's what it is. You're going to be the best SaaS business out there as long as you're using MongoDB. Well, it had a lot of great features. Like it was NoSQL. It was very easy to write to and read from. However, it doesn't scale quite as well as Firestore does. And the main reason for this is because instead of structuring everything as a single JSON object like MongoDB does, what Firestore does is it treats everything as collections and documents. And when you get a document, you do not have to get all the nested data under it, all of the collections and documents under that. So that's the main difference. If you want a little bit more info other than that short description, I made a video, I'll leave an annotation above, where you can check out Firestore versus MongoDB. All right, so we've covered Firestore. That's the main reason, in my opinion, why Firebase is so valuable. Now, the next reason why Firebase is so valuable is because it smashes the like button. No, I'm just kidding. But if you wouldn't mind, smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Really appreciate it. Supports me making these videos. Okay, but really the next thing I wanted to mention was pretty much this huge list of features which Firebase has inside of their dashboard. So in addition to the database, which is Firestore, they also have authentication, storage, hosting, functions, machine learning. They've got some really simple analytics tools for measuring the success of particular features that you launch and in general tracking the behavior of your users so you can understand them and improve the product. They've got tools for facilitating mobile apps like app distribution before you publish on the App Store so that you can test with your users before you go through the hassle of launching this thing on the actual App Store. And they've got Crashlytics, which helps you understand how your app crashes, and so forth. And they've got a whole bunch of other features like A/B testing, cloud messaging, in-app messaging, so forth. And I was really happy when they announced this last one, extensions, because extensions is basically like pre-built solutions to things like, let's say every time a user signs up, you can add that user to MailChimp. That might be an extension. So there's tons of power in this platform. Firebase is not really just a database. It's really a suite of tools to help you build apps and websites using much less code and in much less time than it would normally take you. So that's really what makes Firebase so special, is mainly the database, Firebase, revolutionary, and then all these other tools. They make building apps a lot faster as well. And so that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks everyone for watching. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to see more videos from me. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.